a child that has some sort of physical or mental handicap that makes certain situations difficult for them.
Child that cannot function in the general education system.
I think first and foremost, that's a hard question. A child with a disability um, is not a burden. They are a blessing, and a child with a disability is they have a lot of gifts and a lot of things to give, but sometimes you just have to go about discovering those in different ways than you would with typical developing children.
That's a very difficult question to answer, but a child or grown up or adult that can't be placed in the same group or atmosphere that regular kids can be.
Is any child that might a little extra assistance that has some kind of diagnosis of a medical or an academic diagnosis that just needs some kind of extra assistance at school.
Is a child with a disability. I don't know that I'd use the word what, but a child who has been diagnosed with a disability is a student that's gone through a process, hopefully at their school as early as possible, early intervention, where they've been identified as maybe having some difficulties learning or experiencing some type of interruption in them being able to access instruction or communication or education as a student without a disability would be.
That was a disability. It's like one of my friends has like a disability for like one of my friends like Marcus or like a child like who don't have a disability like mine's intellectual disability and a lot of people who have a disability who can have a lot to have for a disability.
I feel like the way that we educate them in some ways doesn't show that they are, but I think if they're taught the right way, that they could be.
In some ways, they struggle a lot more, to be quite honest, that they really do, and I think that's just the nature of a disability, that they're going to have difficulties in several areas, but it's really cool to see the ways that they are gifted and to uncover the things that they truly do have a lot of knowledge about, and they will surprise you with the things that they say and just the amount of knowledge that they have, whether it's in like a certain topic or just an area as a whole, and in those specific areas that they're interested in or that they've studied about or that they've really worked hard on, I think that they surpass typical children so often. My students a lot of times know a lot more about certain things than even I know.
If they're given the proper tools and education, then yes, they can be.
But yeah.
Yeah, they can be.
Yes.
I think to quantify what smart is a complicated question. If you're talking about an IQ, that's a very clear-cut number that school psychologists use to identify a student and where they are related to whether or not they qualify as being disabled in some way. If you're talking about learning, I think that all students, provided the right platform and the right resources, can be as smart, if you can quantify that, as smart as anyone else.
Yes, they are, but just in a different way. They have different strengths, maybe not necessarily academic strengths, but they have all kind of other areas where they are good at that that I might be good at, or the general ed students might not be good at.
I have no clue. It's like a meeting that the parents have with the teachers or guidance counselors to help like make a plan for their education. I don't know.
AP, an individualized educational plan. Well, it's been a long time since I said the whole thing.
IEP is an individualized education plan or program, and the whole purpose of it, I believe, is to tailor education to the individual student.
An IEP is an individualized education plan. No IEP can be identical to another IEP because all students are different and all learners are different. So after being evaluated by a school psychologist, you'll have the foundation of whether or not a student has some areas of deficiency, either ranging from vision, hearing, orthopedic impairment to emotional disability, other health impaired learning disability, or speech services where they qualified for services. So now you're going to develop an IEP, which is a fluid plan that can consistently be updated and changed to make sure that you're honoring what a student needs.
Yes and no. I think you have to have a very special heart to do it. I don't think
No.
And no, I believe it's very rewarding.
I don't think so. I think from what I've heard people talk about that it brings them a lot of joy.
No, I absolutely disagree with that statement. And anybody who would say that a special education teacher's job is sad, I would love to talk to them a little bit about the magic that can go on for any student, but specifically a student with special needs.
My job is sad. No, I love my job. There are some people that might think that that job is sad or hard, or hear all the time that, wow, I can't do that. You must have patience. I don't think I'm very patient at times with them because I expect them to be, to learn and to grow and to try. And a lot of times I think my students do a lot more of that more than the gen ed population sometimes.
Yes and no. So by and large, my day, every day is not sad at all. I have a blast. I love my job. I think my students are hysterical. They have great personalities, and we have so much fun together. The sad part of it, and it is just a small percentage, I am overjoyed and have so much happiness. 95% of the time, the sadness does come in when I see my students struggling with something that other people find so easy.
As a special education major that has worked with special needs students since middle school, I found it interesting that the people I interviewed that had not worked with special needs students found my "what is a student with a disability" question uncomfortable. It was also interesting when I asked, "Do you think a special needs teacher's job is sad?" that the two special needs teachers answered completely different. Mr. Middlebrooks thought my question was funny and said that he loved his job and that it was in no way sad. Miss Courtney answered completely different and said that some aspects of her job were sad. The Clemson Life student that I interviewed really shocked me because he did not know what an IEP was, even though he recognized he had help throughout high school. He also recognized that his friend was a student with a disability before he recognized himself with a disability. Overall, I think everyone that I interviewed answered as I was expecting them to.